the Advancing Technology for Learning and Applied Spatial Solutions Grant Introduction webinar. So this is our first of two kind of grant overview webinars. We'll do another one later this summer. And the Atlas Grant is something that our office is really excited to bring back this year. This is the second time we're running it. All right, to begin with, I just want to talk about who's on the call. Me, I'm the one of the two Deputy Chief Geographic Information Officers for our office, and I cover the programs and outreach portion of our office. Also with me on the call, we have Sarah Disler, who's our GIS Project and Grant Coordinator, Sean Scholler, who is our Imagery and Elevation Subject Matter Expert, Rick Ra, who's our Southern Outreach Coordinator, Dan Council, who's our Northern Outreach Coordinator, and David Schilling from the State Budget Agency, who's a grants management analyst who knows all things Euna grants and will help us all with the grant management portion of this. So if you apply for an Atlas grant and receive funding, you'll be invited to participate in a secondary webinar to help you with grant management. But also, submitting grants through Euna grants is a pretty straightforward process. I think, as David has said in the past, if you can buy something on Amazon, you can definitely submit a grant on Euna grants. All right, so our agenda for today is to give you an overview about our office. Then we're going to go over the grant program. We're going to kind of overview the grant program and give you some details about the grants. We're going to talk about the two different tracks in the Atlas grant program, and you do have to declare a track when you submit your application. So while a grant may be primarily in one track, it could have elements that are compatible with the other, but you do have to put the rubber on the road and tell us which of the two tracks you think your grant fits within. And then we'll have a brief little bit of time where we talk about the Euna grants platform. David will be a big help there, and then we'll open it up for questions at the end. All right, before we dig totally in though, just to let you know, this is kind of what it looks like from the participant side of things. You should be potentially able to move through the slides, although I don't know if we have it set up quite that way. You can sync back to the slides with us, and you can also look at a view grid of the slides. Those tools are along the bottom. And in the upper right, if you want to say something, you can use the chat, and we'll be monitoring that. And during the question and answer portion, when we enable microphones, you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask a question live. You can also raise your hand during the presentation if something's really urgent. I think I'll be able to see that, and we can unmute you and bring you in to raise that question if you'd like. All right, and with that, I'll pass it over to Sean to give us a brief overview of our office.
Yep, we are the Indiana Geographic Information Office. We've been around now legislatively mandated since 2007, and moving forward with our the legislative mandates that were part of that. So it's a great rule book for us to follow. Okay, so going here to the IGIO's mission. Again, it's fairly straightforward, and with that legislatively mandated to maintain our fundamental layers that we've been tasked with. So we can go ahead and move to the next. The organization, I suppose maybe some of you are familiar with exactly with the recent movings around. I think the biggest is Ben was moved from, or the Indiana map portion was moved over from the programs and outreach over to the enterprise. Kind of since the development of that has been fairly mature now, there's a lot of work on on the backside of the Indiana map. So that shift changed. A few faces have been added to the programs and outreach side, but it's all pretty much still the same. So I think moving forward, Indiana map. So that one-stop shop. It has, I think we're up to now 500 layers. I didn't want to double check that, but yeah, and the other is, and so this is where again, folks can, or grant opportunities can leverage the Indiana map. So trying to figure in where recipients for this Atlas grant can piggyback on our technology. So this is a big one, and those. And then the data harvest as well, as you're familiar with, a lot of movement on this in the last year with the seed grant recipients. That's kind of coming to a closure, and a lot of the counties have either taken advantage of the funding or have done similar work on their own to accomplish these standards. So again, so that's using these data sets from this upcoming data cycle request would be a huge opportunity. Let's see, maybe a next. I suppose the other would be the geocoder. And the geocoder is always one that gets overlooked. We always talk about the incoming data and the standards that are applied to that, and but also talking about in the usability of the geocoder. That's now neck and neck with I think Steve, with the Esri geocoder. Ours is free and has a lot of potential. So. All right, let's see. And hey, get to talk about imagery and elevation. So, obviously you're aware we have the collection of imagery and elevation data. It's 3-inch ortho imagery, 4-band. We also have, Steve, we didn't put the leaf on imagery in here. Shame. Oops. So we do have that's my bad. The leaf on imagery that we are acquiring from the 2025 collection of the NAEP program. That was broth. I don't know if you're sure you're familiar with the leaf on NAEP program. Our office is bought up to the 6-inch, 15 centimeter raster imagery product, and then we're also enhancing the horizontal accuracy of that leaf on imagery product to about a 1 foot product, 1 foot accuracy, as opposed to the standard 4 meter accuracy. So it's a really neat product that we're going to be rolling out. It'll be embedded in all of our imagery services and capabilities. So there's a new imagery product that's on its way, and we'll start rolling out deliveries here in the next month or two. And let's see, and then also we have the LiDAR. Yeah, I think that's probably. Yep. There's some benefits to seeing 3-inch as opposed to 6-inch. Right, it's a lot more clarity, and especially in urban settings, and even in rural settings, being able to differentiate objects out in rural Indiana. So, all right, and here we go. All right, hand it off to outreach.
I can do this part. Yeah, no worries. I think you guys know who we are too, but just in case, I cover the northern half of the state, and Rick, my counterpart, covers the southern half. I think I have control, maybe not. Thought I did. Anyways, a little bit about the impact of our office. So we recently did a value and benefits report in a study, kind of measuring the qualitative and the quantitative impacts of our office across the state. And I think really the main kind of selling point here is that for every $1 invested in the IGIO, Indiana receives $857 in economic benefit. So that's a really nice, punch that we like to throw out there. Annual government cost savings, over $10 million. State agencies, about over $2 million, and local governments, $8 million. So really the main point here is that investing in GIS is actually saving our state money. So we really like to make sure that's known. Annual user time savings, 3 million. Overall statewide economic impact over 4 billion. So kind of insane numbers here. Open data efforts, 1.7 billion. So if you're ever talking to anybody who's kind of wondering, is GIS worth it? What's the impact? Feel free to take a look at that study, and we're happy to share that and spread the word. So go to the next slide. I thought I could do it, but I guess not. So
you
moving
should
on
be
to,
able to. You
yeah,
have
I
control.
pressed. I don't see any
Anyway.
arrows or anything. It's weird. Yeah, the reason why we're all here, Alice Grant. Okay, well, maybe I do have control. I don't know. So we created this grant last year. This is our second year offering it, and we created it with education in mind. So colleges, universities, K through 12, and nonprofits, anyone who's dealing with education and promoting the use of geospatial data and GIS. So with that in mind, kind of our main mission here, a few bullet points, is to advance geospatial research, enhance the accessibility of geographic data, promoting best practices through the different projects that we've been awarding and will award, and ensure that geographic data is used effectively and kind of increasing the understanding of the concepts across various disciplines that might be using GIS. Okay. So a few goals in mind. In a little bit, we'll talk about the tracks with the grant and how they relate to these goals. But the first goal, supporting the creation of scalable, repeatable, and practical tools. So really here, supporting the creation of tools that will reduce duplication of efforts and projects that can be reused in the future as well. Second goal here, more on the education aspect, supporting development of educational materials, training programs for residents of Indiana that incorporate GIS into education. And the last goal here is supporting projects that enable geospatial data sets to be easily accessible. So more on the technology side here, and that are optimized in our open data environment. With that being said, I think I'll pass it off to Sarah to kind of go over the funding. Oh, I have one more. Who can apply? I think you guys know, but academic institutions, nonprofits, schools, school districts, so K through 20 is kind of the main focus point here. Okay, now I'll pass it off to Sarah to go over some of the funding details.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Let's see, there we go. The Geographic Information Office allocated $150,000 of our state appropriated funding for fiscal years 2026 and 2027. Each year, the program will target up to 4 awards. These awards will be of varied amounts, but the total amount awarded will not exceed $150,000 per fiscal year. It is possible for multiple awards to be awarded to the same institution if multiple distinct projects involving different personnel are selected for an award. Individuals involved in these projects may be co-PIs on multiple grants, but may not be the lead on more than one Atlas grant. The budget for the grants will be completed in the Euna grants portal during the application process. More information about completing the budget and the Euna grants application process will be explained during the SBA webinar. This slide shows the allowable costs for this grant. When completing the budget, we ask that if you could please be sure to provide details of the cost calculations in the budget narrative, and that will make more sense once you've attended the SBA training webinar and can actually see the budget forum and the place for that narrative. More information about completing the budget will be provided during SBA training webinars.
I would jump in here and add that the allowable costs also do include some travel, but the travel has to be directly related to the grant itself and essential for the success of the grant. So, keep in mind travel might be acceptable. Travel might look like I have to go to this site to interact with, trainees, or I have to go to this site to have meetings to discuss a technology implementation. Probably not acceptable would be I'm going to travel to Costa Rica to present the results of my Atlas grant to an international conference, right? Hopefully your institution would support travel like that. And then another thing to note is that indirect costs are allowed, but these are capped at 10% of, or F&A, Facilities and Administration, is capped at 10% of modified direct costs. So similar to some changes to the federal government indirect cost formula, we are capping those costs. So if your institution or organization has an overhead rate of, say, 58%, we will not be able to cover that 58% and instead would allow up to 10.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, this slide shows the Atlas grant timeline. The application period opens on August 3rd and will close on September 10th. We are sending out award notifications on October 13th, and the awardee acceptance deadline is October 23rd. We anticipate the performance period will begin on January 29th, 2027, and will end on January 29th, 2028. The awardees must accept the award by the deadline in order to receive the grant. The performance period cannot begin until after the grant contract is executed, approved, and subrecipients are going to have 1 year from the beginning of the performance period to complete the project. Applicants are eligible to apply in multiple years. The Atlas grant is a reimbursement-based grant. We require activity and financial reporting at 2 points during the grant period. We ask for an activity and financial report at the midpoint and at closeout. Each of those reports will be due within 30 days of that midpoint or closeout period. The activity reports will be submitted through Euna Solutions platform. The financial report is also the reimbursement request. I encourage you to attend the SBA training sessions. You'll see how to convert a financial report into a request for reimbursement. At the point where you can submit the reimbursement request and the activity reports, you can request 50% of your budget if you have completed 50% of your project work. We have received a few questions about the Atlas grant, and I would like to cover what we've received so far. If you have any questions, we'll have some contact information later on, and you'll be able to submit those questions to us. One question that we received, can each awardee receive the maximum amount of $150,000? And the answer to that is no. The total program per fiscal year will only total $150,000. We are going to have a target of up to 4 awards, and those are going to be of varying amounts, but we will not award more than $150,000 because that's our total budget. The second question, will the IGIO accept more than one proposal from a single institution? Yes, we will accept multiple proposals, and we may even award multiple awards to a single institution. Again, assuming that those have assuming that these are distinct projects with co-PIs on multiple grants, but not being a lead PI on more than one. Does the grant follow the travel expense, such as conference travel? The answer to this one is maybe. It will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Another question that we received, will MPOs be eligible? MPOs are metropolitan planning organizations, and the answer is no. The only eligible applicants are schools, academic institutions, and nonprofit organizations. A government entity is not eligible to apply. And with that, I will pass it over to Rick to talk more about the Atlas grant tracks.
Hello, I'm going to talk about the tracks that are available. As you can see in the slide, there are two navigation maps. Well, let me see if I can, there we go. So there's two tracks with different intents. The first one is navigate, nurturing academic vision and geospatial and technological education. The purpose is development of educational materials or training programs for Indiana residents to incorporate geospatial thinking into educational settings. The second one is maps, which is got two subtracks or subsections under it. And maps is modern applications for processing spatial data. The first purpose is to the creation of scalable, repeatable, practical tools or processes using and applicable to Indiana's framework geospatial data. And then the second section is enable access to or optimization of Indiana's open data, spatial data. Oh, tell me I didn't, okay. For the second one, for the navigate track, we're looking at the purpose is to fund the development of educational material or training programs for Indiana residents that incorporate geospatial thinking into educational settings. The strategical intent is to expand geospatial thinking across the curriculum, develop and disseminate Indiana-focused geospatial training resources and workshops for users. Sorry, my allergies are acting up today, so I may cough and take a few breaths between. An example of those projects would be developmental education material, hosting statewide geospatial educational events, or hosting challenges to encourage innovative use of geospatial data, and establishing mentorship programs, linking individuals with professionals in the geospatial field. For the maps track, our purpose, again, there's the two sections. There's the develop analytical tools and processes. The purpose of that is to support projects that create practical tools or processes using and applicable to Indiana framework data. Indiana's framework data includes imagery, elevation, cadastral, public land survey systems, geodetic controls, government boundary units, water features, address, and street centerline data sets. The tool or process should be scalable and repeatable. Strategic intent, develop innovative user-friendly tools that optimize the value of Indiana Map and the IGIO's AWS hosted data, and develop processes to deliver new insights from existing data, including novel combinations of data and tools. Examples of those projects would be use machine learning to combine data sets to identify previously unrecognized patterns, create an online data visualization dissemination tool for data that are not traditionally used in online environments, and create automated workflows for data extraction and classification. For the second section under maps, we're looking to improve accessibility and optimize storage of statewide data sets. The purpose is pretty clear in the statement, but I'll include our statement. Supports projects that enable geospatial data sets to be easily accessible and optimized for storage in Indiana's open data environment. Strategic intent, improve public access to Indiana's open data through user-friendly interfaces, implement cloud-based solutions for scalable and secure data storage that adheres to the FAIR principles, and FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interpretable, and reusable. Some examples of those projects would be develop solutions to improve public data discovery and use, enhance metadata and improve advanced search and filter capabilities, and develop solutions to optimize data publishing, hosting, and dissemination. And now I'm going to pass it on to David, and he's going to talk about the Euna Grants Management Platform.
All right. See if we can take a request here. Okay, as these guys mentioned, Unigrants, which is also known as eCivis. It's the same company. It was eCivis years. They just changed to Unigrants. That's the platform that we're going to use for you guys to be able to submit your applications. The good thing is that SBA has lots of different resources available for you on our website. User guides that walk you through the whole process. So it's simple and easy to get assistance no matter where you are in the process. And as Steve mentioned, the best thing about Unigrants is that it's very simple. It's a very intuitive, easy interface to understand. It is like ordering off of Amazon, just way cheaper. But that will be the platform that you guys will be using. You'll need to create accounts in the Unigrants platform, but those accounts are free. And it's as simple as just adding somebody into the team, then so you can manage these grants. So one person will submit the application, then you'll have the opportunity to actually build a team, build a collaborative workspace for everyone to work on when it comes to submitting those financial reports and submitting any kind of activity reports, things of that nature. So I don't think you guys have any difficulties whatsoever when it comes to navigating the Unigrants platform, but just know that SBA is here to assist you at any time. So please look forward to those upcoming dates when we'll be having training sessions. Those will be important to attend. Specifically so you can find those resources on the SBA website and get a look and see what this interface looks like. So you guys really should find it simple and easy to use. So actually looking forward to working with you guys about this. And now I'll pass it over to discuss some resources. Steve, okay, great.
Yeah, thanks, David. That's awesome. All right, so just to end this webinar with a couple of slides about resources, and then we can open it up for any questions that you might have. First up, in terms of resources, we have resources from our office, and we also have resources from the state budget agency. So for our office, we have a Atlas Grant webpage, which has recordings of both this webinar and the SBA trainings from last year, and we'll update these with new recordings as we have them. So this presentation will get uploaded. I'll try to redact a few things from our technical difficulties, but it'll be up in the coming days on the Atlas Grant webpage. And you can always email giogrants@iot.in.gov. This is a shared email that comes to many of us on this call, and we can answer your questions about the Atlas Grant program, or even technical matters. If you're having trouble with something, we can make sure that you get connected with the right resource from SBA, like David, who might be able to help you with a technical question with the Unigrants platform. And of course, you can always reach out to one of us directly, but if we're out of the office, we might not get back to you, whereas the GIO grants email comes to many of us, and one of us will be able to pick it up maybe more quickly. Also, resources from SBA. So there are web resources like the Next Level Grant Management resources for sub-recipients. These are asynchronous materials that you can check out on SBA's website to help you with your grant development and submission. SBA also has office hours. I think these are weekly, right, David? And they happen from 2 to 3 p.m. on Wednesdays Eastern time. And it's just a kind of open time for people to join in and ask questions, right?
Yep. We can ask questions, have direct interactions. We can demonstrate things, anything you guys need. It's an open hour for you guys to attend.
Perfect. And then also just be aware that this state budget agency has a state agency grant opportunities website, and we're not the only ones awarding educational institutions and education not-for-profits funds. And so if you've got a project that maybe you're aware of that's happening at your institution that is not related to GIS, there are other grant opportunities from various state agencies, and they're all posted on SBA's state agency grant opportunities page. And I clicked on that link. This is what it looks like. Resources for sub-recipients. We have a couple of upcoming webinars. So we have not yet scheduled the pre-award webinars. We'll have those scheduled and up on our calendar resources in the coming week or two. I've got to work with SBA to schedule those. We have a second version of this webinar. It's the same webinar, but just at a different day and time. That'll happen on July 9th. So a little less than a month from now, from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern time. Please share that with any collaborators you have who might not have made it to this meeting. And then we'll have, we may have only one pre-award webinar, but we may have two. We've got to work that out. But there will be, if you are a successful awardee, there will be a invite-only post-award webinar for those who are funded by this competition, where SBA friends will help us with the kind of grants management aspect of this. So you've already submitted and been awarded. How do you manage your grant in the Unigrants platform? So that will happen after that October, kind of notification deadline. So keep an eye out on our webpage, our newsletter, and social media for these dates. But I can tell you for sure we're having another a remake of this webinar on the 9th of July from 10 to 11 Eastern time.